This conference will now be recorded.
Even someone asked me to give some gap, so I should have taken it, the gap for that. And so, any queries that you have, like on not only yesterday's class, on the previous sessions we have gone through.
Okay, so today is the last day of the class.
No. Actually, generally today should be the last day, but we had a yesterday gap, right? So I'll be taking it also. So I'll even discuss with the team actually, and I'll update you because some of the topics has to be covered. So which has it is maybe whatever the reason, but I have not rushed into the topics. So some things has to be covered. If possible, I'll extend some 2 more days.
Okay. So you'll be covering the Spring and everything, servlets.
No, not Spring. So for Spring anyway, will not be learning.
Only the
Like basics. I'll just try to write a small application and try to connect the database and show that it's like a small UI and a login kind of thing. That's it. So Spring and everything, it will take some more time, right? So we cannot do that. With the servlets, today I'll try to start servlets, and what I'll do, I'll be trying to explain some concepts of database and wind up. You're okay to have the class tomorrow, right, everyone?
if I don't have meeting, I'm fine.
Okay, tomorrow anyway, it will be an all day. So I was guessing that, so to have it or not.
How long is the class?
No, obviously tomorrow we will be having it the same time, 1 hour. So what about others? Any queries or anything to be discussed? It's not only yesterday's class with the previous topics also. So I'll try to start servlet so that you should be having that clear idea on the OOPS concepts and this core Java. So any queries or something? And I was telling you to please go through the recordings so that you can able to come up with some queries and all if you have any. So hope so, no queries. So then I'll start with servlets. There are a few concepts that has to be discussed. I'll not go in deeper. But what is string and what is an array in Java? So as you know, string is something as an object in Java. So it is a string is a predefined object in Java. So why it was a predefined object and why they have not given an array of things is nothing, but there are a lot of reasons. So before before Java you have a C. So in C you do not have a concept of string, class kind of string. So whenever you want to represent a group of characters, you need to be using char as an array, right? So here, what is an array? I think most of you know, but knowing or not, but I'll just try to. So whenever it is not only part of Java, like what is a concept of array is nothing but whenever you want to represent a group of elements, right? So group of similar elements, you will be taking an array. So for example, assume that a class is having 100 students, right? So in 100 students, they're always their rule numbers will be in integer, right? When you want to store them in integer, the 100 students. So if you do not declare an array, so what I need to do, I need to write int 1, int 2, int 3. I need to be writing up to from 0 100 to 100. So which is not good a practice, right? So that's the reason int is nothing but a similar data type. So that's the reason they have came up with the concept of an array. Array is something where a group of similar data items will be stored. So here in whenever you want to represent, you will be representing char as an array in C, a group of strings. So, but what happened when it comes to Java, they have introduced a concept, a class called string. So wherever you want to store a group of letter or sentence, everything will be in string. So there are two ways that you create a string object in Java. One, there are two ways that you can create a string object in Java. One is just writing string literal. So string some s equals to some hello. So this is one of the way, and there is other way that you can use a new keyword by using string s1 equals to some new string some word. So now what I'm doing, I'm creating two objects. So this is also will create a string object, and by using new keyword also will create a string object. Generally, when you want to create any object of a predefined class, so we will be writing our employee class or whatever student class, will be using a new keyword, right? So for string also you can use the same, and there is other way of creating an object by using a letter, just a string as well. And in Java, string is an immutable class. What is the meaning of immutable? What is the meaning of mutable? And you have a concept called mutable and immutable. So here, what is that immutable means? So for example, when you try to create a string object, that object will be created in heap or string constant pool. So after creating that string object, and if you want to add some content to the string, so it is not going to pass. So it is going to create one more new object, and it is not going to what I mean to say, it is not going to add the content to the string object. So for an example, string s equals to, I'll just declare it as hello. So what happens in the heap area or string constant pool area, your hello object will be created. String hello object will be created in Java, and you are going to point with s. So this s is going to point this string hello object. So for example, you want to add some content to this, like hello world or hello something. So I'll be using a symbol called s.concat. So which will going to add the content to this hello. So I'll just add world. So when you are trying to add the content to this, what happens? I'm just making that hello. I just want to make this hello world. So now this content will not change. Now what happens? There will be one more object gets created with the reference called with hello world, right? If you point into S, it is going to point that. If I make this as S1, some S1, so then you will have S1. So here, what does that mean? Your string is an immutable object. It means you cannot change the content of the object. So if you are trying to change the content, what happens? It is going to create a new object, right? So what is the reason for this immutability? There are a lot, and one I can able to tell you is nothing but the security reason. For example, you want to store some, you want to connect to the database in an application. Obviously, you will be using your user ID password in kind of strings, right? So whenever you want to use it in string, some from third party end, whenever they are trying to change your user ID or password, so it should not change the same object, right? So whenever you are trying to change the user ID, someone and to change the user ID password, it is going to create a new object. It is not going to affect your existing object. It is for a security purpose. So this is one of the reasons. Like you have one few more also, and please go through why your string is immutable, and you can please go through this concept more because I was not going in very deeper. I'm just giving a little higher view on it. All right. So I can show this as an example also here. In form.to package, I'll just create a class called with string example. Some class called string example. So here, assume that I'm going to create an object. As I told, there are two ways that I can able to create an object. Assume that I'm going to create like this. And what I'll do, I'll try to add some content to this, and I'll print this. Okay. And s dot append or concat. So concat is the one where I can add some content. So what is another string? Some word. And I'll store this in some string s1 variable. And I'll print the hash code of this. So hash code is something like the address, I can say. So what S will print? It will be printing my output called world. Hello, right? What S1 will print? It is going to print hello world, right? So now what I'm telling, this S and S1 will not be equal. So you are not going to add some content to this S1. So it is generally what I'm doing here. S1 dot concat world, right? I'm storing it in the S1 variable itself. So if this is going to change here itself, hello, if you are trying to append a world, and if this is going to change here itself, so what should happen? Your S1 and S should have same address or same memory. It means that only one object is getting created. So, but if it has two memory locations, then what indicates there are two objects getting created. So I'll print this and you can see the You see, this is with S, this is with S world. So hello S have a hash code of this one, right? Hello world. This is for S1. So what is the hash code? It is this. So both hash codes are different. Like hash code is something like an address, I can say. So it means your two objects are created. So it is not going to append that world to the same object. One more object is getting created. So this is nothing but your string immutable. Is it clear? Is it clear or confusing?
Yeah, clear only.
Okay, thank you. So there are some more. Please go through with strings concept and more. And to the time constraint or something else, I am not going in deeper of this. So please go through an arrays concept as well as strings in deeper, and we can come up with me some queries tomorrow, right? And all are fine to have class tomorrow, right? Because it's like a Republic Day. It's an all day, but can we have class tomorrow, right? No issues, right?
At what time, Surya?
The same time. It is like same 10 o'clock.
Yeah, 10 p.m. Okay.
Same time.
Yeah.
Yes, we'll have it same time. I think no queries for the others. Thank you. So you can able to see my screen, right? So we'll just start with the servlets. So what is servlet and what is a web application? And so to have this and to do a servlets application, so for sure you should be very clear with core Java concepts, right? What is abstraction, encapsulation, and even the source inheritance and what we have seen it interface. This concept must be very clear because that is the only we use to develop a servlet class. So if you have little confusions there, obviously it gets confused. So please, I'm asking, you can go through the tutorials or let me know any queries in the interface abstract because it is not so easy that every time we'll get in every time one shot, right? Because I think you are also working somewhere or maybe professional, but you please try to spend some more time apart from this 1 hour and try to do the practice. So this could be very useful. I just want this 1 hour to make it more value, whatever you spend here. So what is generally a web application or your enterprise application? By reading itself, it's going to tell you, right? So whatever the applications that you see in daily life, most are nothing but your web applications. Your Gmail account, your Facebook account. So when you're trying to log into the Gmail or WhatsApp, whatever, Gmail. So whenever trying to log into the Gmail, your inbox information, your whatever your data is obviously not present in your system, right? It is in some server, right? So how you are getting this data, right? Based on your user ID password, when you just click on sign in, what happens? It is going to take that request to the server, and that server is nothing but your backend technology, right? So whatever you interact and see in your screen in the browser is nothing but your front-end technology, and you'll enter your data, your user ID password, it will go to the server, and from the server there will be some backend, you'll have some code over there which will interact with the database, and it will fetch your data, and it will travel in the web again, and you're going to show the information to you. So how it is happening, what is this request, what is this response, whatever you send to the server is nothing but your request. So user ID password, and you just sign in, right? So that user ID password is nothing but your request, and after get you get an information and show in your browser, right? So that is nothing but your response. If it is your user ID password is incorrect, so you get that information also, right? Whatever you get from the server, that you call it as a response, and whatever you send to the server is nothing but your request. And we have a terminologies like client and all this. I'm not sure whether you are aware or not also, but please let me know you are confused with any other terminology. And you can see this flow, how the web application flow works. A web is a program that's stored or remote server and sent over the internet through a browser or interface. So it is the information, a web application is something, the information is sent through the web page. You will send a response, you will send a request to the web and you will get the response. So whenever it is traveling in a web, then it has to travel in the format of HTTP, Hypertext Transfer Protocol. So there should be some rules and regulation whenever the request is transferring. So backend you can use any technology, front end you can use any technology, but whenever the request is transmitting in a web, it should transmit in the form of HTTP, Hypertext Transfer Protocol. I think you got it. If people from CSC more will be knowing more than me regarding it. So from the client, you will be sending the response like what is this HTML is nothing but hypertext markup language. Your browsers will understand only the HTML, right? So you have web server and you have the logic, business logic, and the web construction logic, and it will get to the database and everything, and it will show again the response HTML. So the internet connection will the request goes in the form of HTTP and comes in the form of HTTP, but whatever you see in the web page is in the HTML. So your web pages will understand only the HTML. So we'll see what is HTML and we'll learn what is that little basics of that also. But what you see that browsers like your IE will understand only the HTMLs, hypertext markup language. So how we are having a Java language. So this is also one of the language which understands by your browser. So whatever you see, like when you're trying to sign in to the Gmail account, you see some text box, you see some sign in button, right? And you will be seeing some icons, and whatever you see, everything is an element. We'll see more on this. So generally there are two kinds of applications. One is your web application and one is more enterprise application. If you want, you can just go through this slide for 1 minute. So, but it is very simple. Web application is the one where it will going to serve only the request and response part. Like it will not have much complex operations. When it comes to an enterprise application, it will support a lot of other services. Like for example, when you want to do a bank application, right? So it is bank application is not only that it will take the request and it will send the response, right? So it has to do a lot of other operations. Your bank application need to support transaction, your bank operation need to support messaging, your bank operation need to support security part. So these are nothing but other services that should be added on top of your request and response as a normal web application. So that is kind of application we call it as enterprise application. So your enterprise application supports all the features that is supported by your web application, but web application will not support the features supported by your enterprise. It is like simple constraint concern. Web application is little smaller and enterprise is nothing but little bigger one. And you use a Tomcat for your web application, and you use the WebLogic and IBM WebSphere for your enterprise. If you want, you can go through this points here. That's what it's going to tell. Using large companies like banks which uses like GMS transaction, and all this will not be there for your web application. So both kind of applications can be developed by using your advanced Java. So what we're learning is nothing but now J2EE. In the beginning, when I'm trying to giving the introduction of your core Java, I have given the Java has three flavors. One is nothing but your J2SE, which is like used to develop the standard application, and one more flavor is your J2EE, which is used to develop enterprise or web application, and that you call it as advanced Java. And one more is J2ME, that is for micro applications, and we are not going to see that part. It is for mobile based applications. What is a server and servlet? So servlet is a technology. It is used for Java, right? But server is not for Java. Like for example, when you, as I told you, when you want the request to be sent to the server, right? So the server may be in some US or somewhere, right? You're logging to the Gmail or Facebook, but that request has to be understood by your Java. For example, that request has to understand by some code, right? And that code has to transmit that request and take to the database and get the data information from the database and send the relevant information to the browser, right? So to develop all this, you need some part of the code, right, at the server end. So if you are using Java as a backend technology, you to develop to achieve this functionality, then you have a concept called server, right? So server is a common thing for all the application, whatever the technology that you use. You use a .NET, you use Python to satisfy that requirement. The server is a common. It is like going to store that data, or you can say you have different kinds of servers, like your database is also one of the server. You can say that are nothing but your data center itself. You can read out these points even, like, to get more clarity on it. So servlet is just for a web technology for the Java. So when you go for .NET, it may be some other technology they use, they want as a backend technology. So it is going to read your HTTP request, and it is going to convert to the Java object, and it is going to process it, and your Java object again will be converted to the HTTP response. Why? Because in a web, it is going to travel only in the HTTP. So for example, at a backend, you use .NET or Python, some other technology. Then what happens? That technology will convert your HTTP request to .NET object. Again from .NET object to HTTP response. You can get more clarity by seeing this diagram. Okay, I think no queries on this. So what is your web browsers or web clients? So whatever you daily life, you will be seeing it, Chrome, IE, Opera. So there are different kinds of browsers which are available in market, but your Chrome is the most popular one people use around that. So IE has not taken such thing, but people still use IE, right? But it will not support some features, and but Chrome is the best one, and which is very popular currently the people are using it. So it's like search engine. So here, this web application, web browsers or web client is the one where we can able to, by using this only, we are just sending our request and getting a response, right? So you can read that slide once again. And so what web browsers will do, they will read the HTML text and convert into a page, right? So whatever you see, is it clear up to this? Please ask me, stop me whenever you are confusing with technology or you're not clear at any point of time. I'm trying to open it. So web browser is software that used to view the web pages. Most of the browsers use it to send and receive emails and read the message from the news groups. So you send the request and get the response by using this browser. So I'm trying to show that HTML code to you, but it is little slow. I'm just trying to do the Gmail sign in. So you see, this is the data that you came it, right? So from where it came. So when you click on this URL, what happened? There is some request went to the server and you are getting some response, right? And again, when you click on submit button or next, what happens? Again, some request has to go and you will get a response back, right? So again, everything, there is a backend, some code has written. So here, you whatever you see, everything, whatever you get a response, it is getting in the form of HTML, or you will get an HTML data that your web browser will understand that HTML and convert into this thing. So here this is an element, text box is an element. So your submit button is an element. Whatever you see, everything is an element. So that is nothing but you will have some DOM like structure, and based on that it is going to arrange everything. So if you can see that I can just try to do inspect and see this HTML code. Of this page. So you see, this is the HTML code of this particular page. So try to go with the W3 schools, and if you are very familiar with HTML, please try to understand it. It will be very simple and you can able to easily understand it. So I'll just inspect the particular element. I want to see this. So you have some div tag, and if you see, what is the input type? Some text. So this is what your HTML code, which will be converted to the text box. Sorry. So you have text box and whatever this is. So everything, whatever the element that you see here will be having some div tag, and how your HTML code looks like. For every tag, it will be an opening and you will have close. So here, I just want a plain text, right? So for that, they will have an input type called text. So whenever you want, this is like a submit, right? So for that, you will have some other thing, like input type as something like submit. So they have written in a dev class and you cannot able to see for some of the things. So dev is nothing but some particular part of the code. So you have a button called class. So this is nothing but some class where this coloring and everything is coming. So please go through that little basics of what is HTML, if possible, what is CSS also. So CSS is something where it is going to add some coloring to the your page itself. You see, all this page will not have any specification, like your text box is not having any color, but on top you have some this blue color, but here your button is having some color. So this flavors get be added by using CSS concepts. You have some styles, and there are a lot of other things in web technologies. I do not want to go much deeper, but you can have a little basic idea on that. So please go through the W3 schools, which is very easy to understand your basics of HTML. So what is now an HTML is nothing but like which is going to get which is understand by your browser, and it is going to transmit that to the text boxes or the elements that you see. So that is nothing but your HTML. And how an HTML looks and what is that? It is very simple. You can learn it in very easily. So your HTML will have a tag called HTML and HTML, and you'll have something like body, and where you will be, when you want to show something as a text box, you will be writing input text. And you want to submit it, you can write the input type as submit. So you want to make something as a button, you'll be writing it as button. So like that, you'll have predefined tags that you will be writing it in HTML. So we see some small examples in that also. So there are two kinds of, as I told you, your request will go in HTTP and your response will also come in HTTP. So don't confuse with HTML and HTTP. HTML is a language which is understandable for a browser. HTTP is nothing but the rule, or you can say hypertext transfer. It is an hypertext transfer protocol which is used to for a web application, and the request and response is as it traveled in that format only. It is like a media. So whenever an application has to develop and when you want to transmit the request, you should follow the rules and regulations which is given by HTTP. So what is the meaning of protocol? Protocol is something which is going to set some rules and regulations. So here there are two kinds of things. One is HTTP and HTTPS. So the S indicates for security, right? So how the security happens? Because there will be some SSL certificate generated. Here you can see when you are trying to log in any bank applications like HDFC or IDBI, you see at the top you have HTTPS. And if it is only stating HTTP, so do not, obviously you will not be giving your personal information or your credit card information or bank details and everything. If you are trying to use some data, obviously that should be HTTPS. So you will not be giving anything in HTTP. So I think we can see at that at the end of everything, right? So I'm trying to log into any bank also. If I log in as HTTP also, it is going to take it to HTTPS. Why I'm not getting here is I think you have seen that lot times. Okay, here you will be getting it as HTTP or HTTPS when you are trying to log it. Okay. Is it clear up to this? Is it clear or not?
Yes, sir.
Confused. Okay. I was asking it a number of times. Maybe if you are very completely new, this for sure it's complete. But if you are working somewhere and if you have heard about this terminology, it is very simple. So this is just like a simple servlet flow and how it works. So assume that this is nothing but your Gmail application, and you entered in the browser what you entered, your user ID and password, and you pressed the submit button, right? Assume that you have some submit button here. Okay, I am not able to edit. So here you have assume that you have some submit button here, and you clicked on that submit button. What happens when you click on that submit button? Your HTTP request gets formed. Okay, fine. Okay. So you have some submit button, and on click on the submit button, what happens? Your HTTP request gets formed, and here you will have a user ID and password. So it is going to travel in this web. So what I'm telling, this is nothing but your web, and it will go to, it is going to hit them server. So your server may be anything. It may be like a Tomcat server, or if it is a web application, as I told you, it will be using a Tomcat. If it is some enterprise application, right? Sorry, yes, enterprise applications like which will have higher support, it will be JBoss or WebMagic. So here it is going to receive this HTTP request, and what happens, what I need to do, I need to read this user ID and password. I need to check whether with the database. So what is the database? Is a place where it is going to store a large number of data. For example, you are not only having your user ID and password, right? So like a Gmail, there are lakhs, or in a world like there are crores, millions or trillions of people will be having their accounts, right? So to store that, you need some storage, right? You cannot store it in some file or something. So to store the huge number of data, you have a concept called database, which is going to store the data. So it is going to store the data in rows and columns, and this data that is stored in a database is a structured data, and you have some unstructured data also. We'll see that. So here, what happens? It has to interact with the database and get that thing, and check whether the user ID entered and password entered in the browser is matching with the user ID password which is already existing in the database. If it matches only, it should show some success response or some login response or some based on that, right? If it is not there, it has to show some failure response. So to do everything that, you need some Java code, you need some code. Assume that if you develop that code using Java, you have a concept of servlet inside the servlet. So you for example, when you are doing this with the Java, when you are doing with the Java, you have I'm just taking a method called service, and what the service will do, it is going to take the two parameters. One is your request, and one more is nothing but your response. Whatever you send from the browser is nothing but your request, and what you send back as a response, that whatever you send the data back to the browser, that you call it as response. Now your service will understand, for example, you develop your object by using servlet, right? So a backend technology by using a servlet. So then what your servlet will understand, obviously a Java code. So now what should happen? Your HTTP object has to be converted to the Java object, and your container will do that conversion. And after conversion, what happens? This will be request is getting read. So in this request, we'll get that user ID and password, and we'll cross verify with the database. And if everything is fine, what we do, we'll just in a response, we'll send a success. And if it is failure, we'll just send a failure response. You can see HTTP response. Again, success or failure. Again, this Java object will be converted into HTTP response and sent back to the browser. And based on that, you will be getting your output. So this is nothing but a simple flow, but we'll have a lot of things in this internally. How HTTP request looks, and how HTTP response look, what is the header, and how this conversion happens, how you develop this, and that's what we are going to do. So we'll just develop a simple application, like we'll enter some user ID and password, and that will store it in a database, and we'll write a Java code here to get the data and cross verify that we entered here and we entered in a database. If it matches, we'll send some response. If it does not match, it will send some other response. And how to develop this servlet, we'll see in our upcoming sessions. So what is a servlet and what all this? So by that, I'll be ending your course. Is it clear up to this?
Yes, clear.
Thank you. So to develop this part of code, I need to be writing a servlet, right? So in this, there are three ways that you can develop a servlet in Java. There are three ways to develop a servlet application. So one is by implementing servlet interface. one more is by extending generic servlet third one is by extending HTTP servlet. So mostly people are going to use this HTTP servlet only because this is the latest one. So first it came with servlet, and we'll see why they have with the servlet there are some disadvantages, and that's the reason they went for generic servlet, and generic servlet also has some disadvantages, and that's the reason finally they went for HTTP servlet, which is going to meet the requirements that was not met by generic and servlet interface. So we can directly see with the HTTP servlet also. So to develop a simple web application, what I need. So to develop a simple web application, what I need, I just need an HTML page. HTML pages. Why are an HTML pages? Whatever you see here. So this is nothing but an HTML page. Whatever you see. I'll just type some Java tutorial also. So you got some response, right? Here, whatever you see, they have an HTML code which converted this to this thing, right? You see some search box, you see some headings, right? And you see some text, you see some a sidebar which is having different things, right? So everything is an HTML which is going to under the browser and convert to this, and you can see by just clicking on anything and doing an inspect, as I told you for that. Everything is an element. So you see, learn to way to learn Java programming. So you see they have kept this under header. So that's the reason you can able to see that in with some more size. So you see, way to. This is nothing but a normal text which they have kept in under a paragraph. So that's the reason there is a difference between this one and this one, right? So everything was kept under a dev tag. There is nothing but some part of the code. So like this, you will be having a tags like dev h2. H2 is for header applications to learn Java program. So this object oriented. So how this is coming as a list. You see why there is a difference, because they have kept under a thing called list. So what your browser is going to do, it is going to read these tags and convert in this format. I think you're clear with this. So please go through more basics of that. We'll get more idea. So like that, when I want to develop, I need this web application HTML pages to make the user view. So for example, to enter your username password, you need some. So next one is nothing but your servlet pages. So like a servlet class or servlet page, I can say, is nothing but where you write your backend code, servlet code, or backend one, where you are going to receive that request and interact with the database or and do your logic. And third one is nothing but your XML files. We'll see what is an XML. So this XML is nothing but your, I can say, extensible markup language. So there are different things. Don't confuse with this terminologies, HTML, HTTP.
Is the class going to extend?
I'll just wind up. Any problem?
No, I have a meeting link. That's why I'm asking.
Okay, 5 minutes. I'll wind up. If the time is at just 10, right? We'll just wind up. Not an issue. 5 minutes. So, but please go through this basics for coming tomorrow's class, because it can be very easy. So please go through these terminologies. And W3 schools. First. Okay. So these are the 3 things that we need, and we'll see tomorrow how to write that web application, how to develop a servlet, and how to write an HTML code, and what is XML. So this is just a mapping from your HTML to servlet pages. So that is, we need these 3 things to write a simple web application. And we'll see this tomorrow and go with the terminologies, and you can go through this recordings once again, and please go through the Java concepts also. And as I told you, to develop the servlet, you need to be very clear with interface and abstract concepts. Any queries, you can come back to me again. Okay, thank you all. I'll wind up the session.
Thank you.
Thank you.